Welcome to another episode of the Office Altering Hire and Empower with Molly McGrath podcast. If you're a returning listener, welcome back. If you're a first-time listener, hopefully you'll become a long-time listener. As always, I'm your show host, Molly McGrath, founder of Hiring and Empowering Solutions and creator of this revolutionary podcast. You can check us out at hiringandempowering.com. All right, listen up. We have a real live paralegal with us today. We have Eda Rosa, who's going to talk to us a little bit about legal assistance at its best. But, early in Eda's career, she was a full-time paralegal for law firms across Florida's Tri-County area. And she has gained so much valuable experience supporting attorneys nationwide, but also in her second chapter, if you will. She can talk to us a little bit about moving and the migration from being a paralegal within Florida law firms and what she's doing now for paralegals and legal assistants across the country. And Eda, thank you for being our guest. Tell us about your book as well.
Oh, of course. Yes, a lot going on. I've always been ambitious, so I definitely hit home on the books and the podcast and everything else that's going on. But like you mentioned, I was, originally a full-time paralegal working the 9 to 5 grind. And, I got up one day and I said, I want to do a little more. And I saw a lot of inefficiencies for the law firms. I saw that paralegals weren't being utilized the way that they should have. They were getting bottled down by not getting the substantive work and working on little tasks that other, positions can work on, and they can focus on being what they are, paralegals. But I think a lot of that had to do with attorneys in general just don't get trained or learn about how to utilize a paralegal or what a paralegal
Mm.
does. So there's a lot of miscommunication as to what a paralegal is, what they do, how can they be best utilized. And I think that's something that should really be introduced within the law school, right? When you're in law school, it should be a part of the curriculum, just like as a generality, because the truth is, you're going to work with paralegals. Like that's just going to happen. Whether at the associate level, whether you open up your own firm, eventually you're going to need some legal support staff and team. And that's where the paralegal comes in most of the time. So having all that, I was 15 years into my career and I said, okay, I'm going to be that change that I want to see, which is what I always tell my children and it's what I always tell my family. And so I said, it's time to practice what I preach. So I packed up my stuff. I moved on and I opened up what now is Eda Rosa LLC and what later became a Let's Talk Paralegal movement, which became a book, a podcast, YouTube, which has in general, brought back to me my passion project, brought back to me more business, which is great. I love it. So within the Eda Rosa LLC branch, just in a nutshell, what we do is we provide consulting for law firms. We provide process development. We provide legal career skills enhancements for legal professionals, whether you're a receptionist just trying to move up the ladder, whether you've been in the industry for like me 15 plus years and are trying to figure out what else is out there for you or how else you can grow. Because sometimes I feel like the senior paralegals or the executives, they feel stuck. They get stuck at one point and they're either tired of doing the same thing over and over or they just want to do something different but still stay in the legal industry. So we provide that guidance for them in a nutshell through trainings and courses and workshops and one-on-one sessions. However, you prefer to get the information. We basically have covered all the bases on that, which in turn comes with the Let's Talk Paralegal book. So I found myself repeating myself a lot when it comes to workshops and webinars and courses. And I kept writing down all the commonality questions, right? Everything, all the most common asked questions. We threw out a survey. So every time we do like a live workshop or, we do like a presentation for a law firm, we throw out a survey. And they're basically very similar. And again, I grabbed all the commonalities and all the common questions and I basically put it in a book. That's what I did. So instead of me always answering the same questions and always repeating myself, although I love to do that, don't get me wrong, I feel like this is a better way for you to get everything that you need in just one little, it's like 100 pages. It's a short read, kind of like me straight to the point, very raw, very I mean it's edited, but like unedited as far as other things, and in a digestible way. Because I feel like other books out there, they get too stuck in the legalese and the formalities, and that's just never been me. It's never been my brand. I'm more like this, conversational. Even the podcast is like that. Our YouTube channel is pretty much unedited. So it's pretty much just, it goes with the whole brand, right? Just really raw, unedited, straight to the point. But the one that hit home with everyone, and the one that I constantly get like emails and feedback on, is the chapter of inner preparation. I think that's the most unexpected chapter, really, because they're thinking, oh, you're going to show me some skills, you're going to show me a little bit about what the legal industry is, how I can grow my career, what else I can do, what other options are out there for me within the legal industry. Okay, great. But nobody was expecting the inner preparation. And this one, that one for me was the one that took me 3 years to write. It was the last chapter I actually wrote, but it's chapter 5 in the Let's Talk Paralegal book. Because I did so much research and I referenced so many articles and psychology articles and sociology articles, I really wanted to hit home with everyone. So I try not to generalize it. I try to be, again, raw, straight to the point, in a way where people could understand the importance of, if you're not prepared for the legal industry is not going to prepare for you. So you
Mm.
have to really digest the chaoticness of the world, the running constant after deadlines, deadlines that are not even within your power most of the time. The court provides you those deadlines. The miscommunication between all parties, right? At the end of the day, that's what legal industry is about. It's about miscommunication, misinterpretation, perceptions of other people, how other people look at that matter. Whether it's a car accident or whether it's a family matter, it's a dispute, right? You're disputing the facts, you're disputing the client side of the story. But in all of that, I think we get caught up in the tasks of the world, which we do go over how to handle tasks and organize yourself. We go through all of that through the book. But in all of that, I think we get so stuck on the formalities, on the deadlines, on the task list, that we forget who we really are and what we're there to do, which is help the client, and in the end
Hmm.
not lose ourselves in that process, because we see a lot of things in the legal industry. I think one of the most that hit home with me was when a mother came to me and lost her child in the car accident. Like nobody, how do you are there for somebody like that? And these are like tough cases. These are tough situations that we go through on a day to day. We have to create this narrative for layperson jury. We have to recreate it, right? Recreate the story so that the jury truly understands what it's all about, what we're trying to interpret, the facts, and all of that carries a burden on us. I've seen a lot of paralegals go through depression and negative bias, and they go through a lot. So in order to prep yourself or gear yourself up for this toxicity and chaotic and difficult situations, because sometimes, most of the time, we are therapists as well, and we handhold our clients, and we're there for them at the most difficult times sometimes of their life. So in order to prepare yourself and not let that get to you, right, and get to that burnout stage, is what they're calling it now, or the depressive state, or the over anxiety, or whatever label you want to put it, to prevent that, you need to prepare yourself for such um tragedies, and such pain sometimes, because sometimes you feel it for them. There was one case, and I
So, can you talk to us a little bit about what strategies you see? Because I love that this is your most requested chapter.
yeah.
Is that from paralegals or from attorneys or both?
It's for all the legal industry, because we all know that the attorneys are like, I always like to use this description so that people get a nice picture of what a law firm should look like. So the attorney's like the parent, right? They take care of their legal support staff. They, make sure that they're getting paid and that they have their proper benefits, and, all like the legalities of running a firm and things like that. But they also have other stresses, right? They have to make sure that the lights are on, that the bills are paid, that everybody gets paid, and on top of being an actual attorney, right? So sometimes when they are running these firms, they are going themselves are going through some things, right? Maybe the company's not doing so well and they're going to have to lay off some people. Making the tough decisions, is not easy for anyone. Nevertheless, someone that was most likely not trained in running a business, right? So we have to understand that this is from all sides of the perspective, which is why, even though it's called Let's Talk Paralegal, the subtitle is A Legal Professional's Guide, right? Because it's a legal professional. We all go through the same stresses. We all see the same things. We all, handle the same type of cases. But I think the attorneys get the burden of it all, right? Because they have all those other added stresses while we're just trying to sustain the caseload, right? But we get the grunt of it sometimes. So, yeah.
Yeah. So, do you find that paralegals are requesting a copy of this chapter more than attorneys? So they are actively, because I know how I met you was through a paralegal that went through some of your training programs and coaching and said it was excellent. Brand new paralegal coming out of certification, met you through the NALA and also the conference there and the Paralegal Association. And um, this morning I was just speaking with her and I said, "Oh, I'm interviewing Ed today." And she's like, "Oh my gosh, her energy and just the guidance and everything." So, paralegals, what I love, and I know you talk about this a lot on your podcast about the mental health awareness in the legal profession and just your mission and how to become a very successful paralegal, which is fantastic outside the legalese. It's the human stuff, it's the heart stuff, it's the spirit stuff. To your point, where paralegals are very anxious and depressed, especially use the word burnout, what have you. But same thing, the legal profession is one of the most highly addicted professions out of any. And so I love that you're having this conversation. As you're talking, I'm thinking, wow, what a phenomenal retention tool. Because as you know, I do recruiting and staffing in the legal profession. And so often when paralegals come to me, they're burned out and no amount of money. And I find it's because the firm doesn't create a culture of awareness, a culture of wellness, a culture of coaching like you provide. And I see that as a phenomenon because guess what? The client fact pattern's not going to change if you're in a criminal defense firm. The client fact pattern's not going to change very much if you're a family law firm or estate planning or probate and trust administration or Medicaid and putting them in a nursing home or, immigration, whatever it is, you're dealing with highly emotionally charged clients, right?
Yes.
Our job is to have them feel lighter than when they walked into our office
Mhm.
in many regards. But when you have a firm that has a culture such as the work that you're doing, Etta, with coaching and awareness and education, and it's a phenomenal retention tool for your paralegals because they have a way of self preservation in addition to self-care, which is a term that's sometimes misguided and overused, but very, very necessary. And, coaching and education is a beautiful form of self-care. We're not saying pay for them to get massages every day.
I mean, that would be nice. I'll take it.
Yes, it would.
No, and
I'm a
we
huge
do a
fan.
lot of trainings for big law firms. So I recently did a training where they had a law firm both in Florida and New York. So I had over, I want to say 100 attendees. It was a mandatory
Oh, wow.
attendance for the firm.
Great.
But there's always like medical last minute things, so whatever. But we ended up getting 100 attendees, which was by far amazing. And it was about, well, they wanted me to do like a professionalism, training. And I was like, okay, but my way of doing that was a little, I guess, unorthodox to say the least. I like to present professionalism in the form of marketing yourself and branding yourself and what all that entails and why it's so important for you to continue um, to market and brand yourself, because at the end of the day you're a representation of the firm. So if you respect yourself and you carry yourself accordingly, you know what I mean? It'll be more professional, right? Versus telling you what to wear, how to look like, all that madness. But it is what it is, you know? And they were like, "Oh, wait, like is this is how you're presenting it?" And I was like, "Yeah, absolutely. This is how we present it." We have to present it that way. We have to introduce that culture this way, because there's so much diversity now. Like, we live in a beautiful country where there's just so much culture, so much language, and so much diversity in and of itself, that not everybody's going to understand what professionalism is about and why it's so important to carry yourself a certain way, to speak a certain manner. Me being multilingual, I understand the different dialects and higher pitches, and how things can sound a little weird, or like Hispanics tend to like talk very loud, but that's just the mannerism, that's just a culture thing. And some people that's a little off-putting. So it really just
Hmm.
depends on what that means, and what that looks like to you. So I like to keep my trainings short, simple, straight to the point, but in a way where they can understand it. And I always like to give them handouts and workbooks, so that they can practice kind of what they've learned on their own. Like, I don't have to be holding your hand. Nobody has to be holding your hand. We have reflection questions on there that you can utilize at any time, kind of like a to-do list, like a little checklist. We have pinpoints, like the main points of the whole entire presentation, just in case you zoned off, or you ran to the restroom, or you took a break, whatever the case may be. But we like to give them something quote unquote tangible, so that they can continue with it, because the whole purpose is to literally change the legal industry from the inside out. And the only way we can do that is by changing the current narrative that we always have to be chasing deadlines and being behind everything. That's not necessarily true. If we create this beautiful culture, and we create,
Yeah.
it's just like a family, right? So we have difficult family members that we may or may not like. We have those family members that we can't live without, that we go to. And then we have those that come into our family, like the steps, and the step parents and the step children, or what do they call them now? I forgot the term, but you know what I mean anyway. So
Yeah. Bonus
yeah,
family.
so all of
Yeah.
that, right? We have all this, again, we have
Hmm.
all this diversity, and we have all these changes, and all these, societal differences. Most of us come from other countries. That also has a lot to do on the way we react to certain situations, or certain emails, or certain interactions. So learning about ourselves as well. And again, having that inner preparation will result in a different way of you handling certain situations. So if a client's coming at you in an aggressive manner, understand that they're obviously going through a difficult time in their life. That it's not you. Don't take it personal. Just simple, practical things that you can remember on a day to day basis. Like, do not take it personal. Obviously, they're going through some stuff. If not, they wouldn't be there.
Right.
So being
Well,
human.
the inner preparation, while you said very simple and obvious sometimes, it's not. I can't tell you how many phone calls I will get from support team. Sometimes it's the attorney, right? The attorney's blowing up and screaming, or very short, or to the point, wants to the point, wants bullet points. And or it could be from the client, or opposing counsel, or referral source, or what have you. I think so often we take for granted, especially if we own our own business, or we have invested in coaching and personal and professional development over the years, how we're like among the 1%. Emotional intelligence, and
Mm,
I don't mean that from a disrespectful standpoint,
yeah.
but how to manage your emotions and how to respond versus react. I mean, lawyers get trained that beautifully. I mean, I remember when I went through my mediation certification, and, the fine line between coaching, consulting, and mediation and what have you. But we're like among the 1% when it comes to communication and managing your emotions, and the saying of let it go and don't take it personal. It sounds so esoteric, because how do you do that? There is a how to. There is a strategy that you have to consistently be role playing and working that muscle. And I mean, I just can't say this enough. Investing in your programs and buying your books and supporting the paralegals and letting them know We see you, we acknowledge you, same things that your clients want to hear and why they hire you. And in fact, here's what we're going to do. I heard someone say this recently on a podcast that I was interviewing a host or a guest, and he had said, and he was talking about neuroscience and the art and science of sales.
Mm,
And interesting, and it's just coming to me, it goes hand in hand because he had said, humans have it all wrong. They always want to resolve the
mm.
problem and go right to strategy and solution when in fact, you have to remember we are not in the B2B business. We are not in the B2C business. We are in the H to H business, human to human. And that goes with your staff. And your first order is to resolve the emotions.
Yes.
And it sounds to me like that's what you're doing. I know if I was a paralegal or working in a law firm and my boss came to me and handed me a book that talked about Let's Talk Paralegal or communicated to me that your resources that you have, um, I would just be like, wow, they get me. They understand my world, and in fact, they want me to invest, and they wanna invest, and they appreciate the investment. I'm not just talking about money, I'm talking about time, about whatever it takes to really get this in your bones, that they really care for me.
Yeah, and not only that, and like I kind of sell my services to attorneys because of obviously I'm not an attorney, I'm a paralegal. So it was really hard for me pre-pandemic to be like, "Hey guys, I have this amazing, skill in coaching your staff," but they're like, "Oh, you're just a paralegal." So, I had to surpass that and again, not take it personal. But once I got through them and once I actually got that face to face, quote unquote, they understood and I said, this is saving you money because if your paralegal can be productive and can be, um, unclouded minds and can focus on their work, it will make your caseload, your business, and everything just flourish just twice as much. So if you're looking at it as an investment, look at it as a return on investment. You are investing on your staff, on your, training resources, and in the end, it'll benefit you as well and your business, right? Because happy clients create referrals, create business. And if there's no clients, no business, no job. So, once I sold it that way to them and talked business to them, right? And crunched the numbers, I think they kind of got it. They're like, oh, you know what, she's onto something. And I was like, look, we can start small. We can just start with the paralegals or the intake people, because sometimes the
Mhm.
law firms are, they're just like there's so many departments. So I was like, let's just start with one little department, see how it works, see what the reaction is, see what the feedback is. We don't have to do the whole firm, everybody's different. And then once they started seeing that there was an improvement, then that's where the word of mouth came through and the referrals. And they're like, wow, she's really onto something. And then once I did the
Yes.
book, that was it. They're like, oh, wow, she's a published author now. So it was like something else under my belt. But it was, like you said, it doesn't necessarily have to be the book. It doesn't necessarily have to be, but really investing in your staff, like you said, doesn't have to be massages, just listening to their concerns and really appreciating that they're coming to you with concerns. Simple acts of appreciation. Thank you. I appreciate you staying late today. I know you have a family at home, or I know you have this, and yet you're still here working on the case. Simple little acts that you can do on a day-to-day basis can really change the trajectory of the rest of your environment in the law firm. And not that they don't respect you, but I think they'll have more respect for you and will work
Yes.
harder for you, right? And will go that extra mile for you once they see that you actually appreciate their hard work and not are constantly always telling them their mistakes. Like, it's fine, feedback is great, construction criticism is amazing, but once you do it too much, then obviously there's another issue. It's not just that issue. There's something else going on. And I think that's what they don't understand. Attorneys come to me all the time that they want the perfect paralegal. And I'm like, well, you may just have them in your firm. You're just not watering them. They're plants. You got to water them. You got to take care of them. You got to nourish them so that they themselves can flourish. Doesn't mean that they don't have the skills needed in order to be your perfect paralegal. Is that you're not providing that opportunity to them, and you're not showing them that appreciation, and you're not providing the proper tools or giving them the process to succeed. So it just really depends on the firm. And I think I've only found maybe one firm that I've consulted that they honestly did not have a good fit. And it had nothing to do with their skills, it had to do with personality. So if you're not
Yeah.
willing to work and you're not willing to, the best word I can ever say is compromise on certain things, then it's not a good fit. Then you need to find someone that is willing to work together as a team and be there and do what they need to do and things like that. But sometimes people are just going to be stuck in their ways that they're not willing to, entertain any other way of thinking. So that can get difficult, unfortunately.
Which is great because, just figuring out that mindset. And that's what I love about the work you're doing. And I mean, your book is a fast, easy way to even communicate for somebody who maybe hasn't worked in the legal industry as a receptionist, legal assistant. I know the titling is Let's Talk Paralegal, but by and large, just really giving them the information that they need when they're entering the legal industry or how to pivot within the legal industry, especially if you add on additional practice areas that might be new, that might have, more practice, more emotional side of it
Yeah.
that wasn't there before. And I think it's a phenomenal, phenomenal, phenomenal way to really connect with your team, treating it like a book club or what have you, or investing in your programs and bring in there because a lot of times, it's interesting. I think I told you this when we were talking a couple weeks ago that attorneys tell me often, which is really the first attorney that told me this, I was like, "What?" But then the more I heard it, they will call me, especially when it comes to their staff, and they will say to me, "I don't like conflict." Like, "Were you trained in conflict?" I'm like,
Isn't that
"Wait,
your
what?
job?
Is it your job?" Like, I watch TV, I see all the legal shows in the courtrooms, but no, I mean, it's funny, their conflict they don't mind having conflict when it comes to their KPIs, their numbers, the life cycle of the file, getting back to the client, all of the things, but when it comes to their employees, I'm noticing that she's seeming a little off or he's seeming a little depressed or I'm noticing like the professionalism. I'm not surprised that that massive firm in Florida and New York brought you in to talk about professional dress because though I get phone calls like all that. I don't know how to have the conversation with her about polishing her shoes, about not showing cleavage every day in the office, about, I'm amazed and I get it with all the sexual harassment and everything else that comes and employment laws. If they don't want to have that conversation. So it's great to partner with a third party person like you that can lend that third party credibility. And, sometimes the conversation might not be as professionally developed like this in regards to your chapter 5. Tell what tips would you leave for the attorneys in regards to um, being aware and being aware of what's going on in their office with their employees and how they can, to your point, they might not be underperforming, but maybe they're underperforming because of the tone you set in the firm that I'm the boss and your job, you should be thankful to have a job. Maybe when you hired them 2 years ago, 10 years ago, what have you, or 2 weeks ago, and somewhere along the way, the message they got is your job is to do work and overperform, keep your mouth shut, and put your head down.
Yeah. So the most common that we do get is underperformance, right? Is their work starts, I guess, suffering, constant tardiness, just things out of the personality. So if you know your team members, which I hope you should, you should know them. If
Yes.
you should get that instinct, right, where it's like, I don't know, something seems a little off. I suggest that you start a conversation. Take them out to lunch, have a breakfast, bring them their favorite dessert or coffee or something like that. Really show initiative because they're maybe thrown off depending on the type of relationship you have. So come bearing gifts, whether it's a coffee or a donut or a cookie or whatever. If you know them, you'll know what to bring, and really start that conversation. Be like, hey. I just want a quick chat with you. You have some time for lunch today. I want to take you out for lunch. Something where you can remove them from the atmosphere, so that one, they're not embarrassed, because a lot of people feel like they're going to be embarrassed about the situation. So you remove them from the office setting. Maybe that's something they don't want to be shared. They don't want to see, oh wow, she got called in, or they got called into the boss's office, right? So a simple lunch or a little breakfast, or maybe even a group lunch, and do it more general, can start conversations as well. Hey guys, I want to take you out to lunch today. Let's go, get pizza. I don't know. So removing the, I guess, them from the environment. And now, if you're virtual, could be a little difficult, right? So if you're still in a virtual firm, which is what I call them now, it can be a little difficult, but picking up the phone can go a long way. Um,
Mhm.
Pick up the phone, start a casual conversation, nothing to do with work. Just be like, hey, I just want to know how you're doing. How can I help you? What do you need? Things like that will really help. I had a personal experience with one of my colleagues when I was working 9 to 5. She was going through a really bad state. She had miscarried, and didn't want to tell anybody because she was an attorney. She had to stay on top of everything. And she just literally miscarried and went right back to work, like legitimately, just went right back and said, nothing's wrong, I'm fine. And obviously, she was not fine. She just had a
Right.
stillborn. So she had to deliver the baby, which was, probably even more traumatizing for her. But anyway, I realized it. I had worked with her for over 2 years, and I realized that she was off. And I went directly to her. I closed the door and I said, what's going on? How can I help you? Oh, well, if you can do this motion. And she goes right away and tells me about work. I'm like, no, 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 no. What can I do for you? Do you need coffee? Do you want me to get you lunch? Do you need something? Do you want me to get your car somewhere? Like, I literally went down the list, and she just started crying. She's like, nobody has come up to me and asked me if I needed anything like that. So a simple act can go a long way. It doesn't have to be monetary. It doesn't have to be, anything like that. Just offering your services as a human, can go a long way. Lending an ear, maybe an embrace, maybe they just need a hug, anything like that. And aside from the sexual harassment and all that, because obviously, if that's an issue, then that's an atmosphere that's already been created, right? Because if it's
Yes. Thank you
tiptoed,
for saying that.
if it's
Yes.
tiptoed, and if it's not, that means that foundation, just like anything else, was not established and it wasn't strong to begin with. I
Yes.
have worked with many male attorneys that I still to this day work with them. I have no issues with my male colleagues ever. I've
Yes.
never, thankfully, had a situation where I felt that uneasy or unsafe. And it's probably because I never placed myself in those situations either. That's also it's a two-way street,
Yes.
but we're not going to get into that. But yeah, just like simple tips on that is just, again, being human, putting the human back in humanity, showing that you care. I love the famous saying, which I don't even know where it came from, but maybe you do, is like, you, in a world where you can be anything, be kind. And I think that's what we need.
Oh.
We just need to be kind. We just need to show that even though we have differences and even though we're so diverse, we're still human, and that we have in common. We still have aggressions and stresses and anxiety and traumas, that are not being attended, or are not knowing how to be attended. And I think that we lose that. We lose just the simple fact of just caring, showing that you are here to help in any way possible. So that's really what it comes down
Ah.
to.
And that's a great story of just even, identifying, having the awareness and handling it in real time with that attorney and going in there and running down the list, having their back, having awareness, knowing what's going on and not stuffing it under the carpet or just letting it go on for much longer than the moment that you aware. Because for them to say, and I hear that all the
Mm.
time, nobody's ever asked me, like, I'll get phone calls from paralegals, legal assistants, support team associates, and be like, this is what's going on. I cannot tell anyone. I can't let them know in the firm, what have you. And then on the flip side, I'll get a call from the attorney and be like, something's up with them. Like, ask them,
Mhm.
have the conversation. And so I just really love all the work that you are doing in regards because this is the easiest way
Yeah.
to start. Start right now,
And
wherever
speak
you're at,
up,
law firm.
I know
Yes.
Geez, man, I've never had this issue, so it was really hard for me to teach someone, right? When it's been naturally ingrained in me. So I was a sociologist major, that's my major, and I literally went to a sociology project. It's called Sociology Today. It's like that famous newsletter, and they had something here in South Florida, and I literally went to learn about skills that are just inherently in me, like it's just something that I just are ingrained. And this is one of them. I was never shy to tell my opinion. So, like, if I'm in a meeting and I feel like this new process or this new software or this issue that they're presenting is not going to be the best fit and that has a lot of holes in it, well, why don't we tell them that before they start implementing it and then making your life a living hell? Because that's really what it's going to be. Your life is just going to be difficult because the software doesn't work at the model, because the people that are usually making that decision are the people that don't even use the software to begin with and we're just sold on a pretty
Oh,
package. So
yes.
I was mostly the one that had those hard conversations, which is literally my podcast and my brand in a nutshell. Face forward everything that I need to face. We talk about mental health, we talk about legal recruitment, we talk about things that people would just never even think about, that all have to do with the legal industry and why we are the way we are, how we have come to where we're at right now. And it all boils down to, we need to start speaking up. As legal staff, as legal support staff, we need to start saying, that's not the best idea. This is why. Bring solutions, talk it over. Don't embarrass them. Like, I was never like, that's not going to work. Like, I was never
Right.
like that. I was just like, I heard about this software. There's a couple of glitches. It doesn't do this. It's missing this. The integration portion is not that great. And I start a conversation. That doesn't mean that they're going to change their mind, but at least you'll open their mind to a different perspective, right? They're not just going to automatically dismiss you. And if they do, that just means, like you said, they're just the boss and it
Not
is what it is.
yes,
So, and
exactly,
you're not going to be able to change
exactly.
that. Sorry. They're going to have to work on
No,
themselves. You can't
yeah,
change people.
uh-uh. But you can change and you are responsible for speaking your truth and for over communicating and all that. I love the saying I heard somewhere that there's a difference between awareness and choosing to stay in awareness hell.
Mm.
So so when you're aware of it, you're responsible for doing something about it. Don't assume that the other person
Yeah.
I love all the work you're doing. Tell our listeners how they can find your book. Tell them how they can find about your courses, about your coaching, and all the things that you are doing for the legal industry. And thank you for that.
Of course, of course. So we made it super easy for everyone since we do have a lot going on. We put it all in one place. So it's our website, which is www.edarosa.com. And there you can purchase the book. You can go on our online shop and look at all the courses we have. They're super affordable. We have some on there that are actually on sale now for like $10. I mean, super
Oh,
cheap. Yeah,
great.
like they're super cheap. We understand that you guys are legal support staff. You're not making the big bucks like attorneys, so we definitely make our products as affordable as possible.
Oh,
To
great.
an extent, of course. Our coaching also, we have a package going on that you can go and look at our package for the holidays. Again, super affordable. You get 5 sessions out of it, plus the handbooks, plus everything that you would get anyway for like less than $200. I mean, it's a ridiculous cheap, affordable way for you to really gear up your career and get it going, which is the purpose. That's what we want. We just want you to not only purchase our courses and our books and things like that, but come back for more, because we definitely upgrade and update everything, um, and add new products as we go. So for sure.
And yes, this is a great, great, great bonus gift for you to give to your team members, attorneys and CEOs and PLAs. Listen up. that this is a wonderful, wonderful resource for you to gift to your paralegals, what have you. So I love that. Keep up the amazing work, Eda. And I'm going to put your book on Amazon. I'm going to put your Amazon link. I'm going to put your website link that you just communicated here. And then I'll also go ahead and put your LinkedIn, because you're doing phenomenal stuff on LinkedIn as well.
Thank you, Molly. I appreciate that.
Yeah. Okay, great. So go out there. No more excuses. Go invest in your legal team. And Eda's here to support you and all the things that she has, from online courses to her podcast to her book. And what a great way to, I'd like you say, take them off campus and hand them the book and have a conversation and reinvent that relationship.
Thank you so much, Molly.
All right, Eda, thank you for continually being a leader leading leaders. We've reached the end of yet another episode of the Hire and Empower with Molly McGrath podcast, where dream teams of entrepreneurs in an entrepreneur's world really do come true. Listen, whether you're a business owner, employee, executive, or hiring manager, we fully understand hiring, onboarding, and leadership is expensive, exhausting, often overwhelming, and absolutely time-consuming for the already taxed professional. Well, we have your back on all fronts. For 25 years and counting, we have transformed over 4,000 law firm teams into the most efficient, resourceful, and profitable asset of your business. Check out our Smart Hire solution, our employee leadership program, and the 66-day law firm turnaround at hiringandempowering.com.